Good morning and welcome to Worldwide Wisdom. There's a lot of criticism out there on the rabbis who go public. Within the rabbis, within the rabbinic circles, there's a lot of grumbling from the rabbis who are not in public, in the public spotlight, who are criticizing the rabbis who are. Now, who's right? Is the place of a rabbi to be on air, or does the rabbi belong on the pulpit? Am I live? Yeah, I think I am. Or is the rabbi belonging in the pulpit, in the cocoon of the sanctuary? There was a rabbi after Charlie Kirk was, while the event was still happening on Fox News, there was a rabbi from California, Bel Air, California, Rabbi Chaim Mentz is his name, and he was up there on the stage, and what he was saying was very interesting. He was comparing Charlie Kirk to the Abraham of our times. Did you see that? He was comparing Charlie Kirk to the Abraham of our times. Now, that's an interesting statement to make. I mean, that's an interesting statement to make. And I think what he was saying was he was trying to play on the fact that Charlie was in a tent when he was killed, and Abraham had a tent, and then Abraham would invite people into his tent, right? And Charlie, very interesting. I mean, you can't put this aside. You can't overlook this fact that Charlie did invite people into his tent in order to converse. Sadly, what happened with Charlie Kirk is that the shooter, who hopefully has been captured by now, the shooter was trying to give a message to Charlie as if to win the argument, not with logic, but with a bullet. He was trying to silence Charlie's dialogue with a bullet instead of with a better argument. And that is the death of dialogue. That is the foundations of democracy, which really is what Abraham was about. Abraham was about conversation. Abraham was about, listen, come into my tent. Let me feed you. Let me give you, take care of your needs. And let me educate you about the wisdom of the master of the universe. Now, Charlie, by the way, on another note, he spoke about the importance of resting on the Sabbath, which, by the way, let it be clear, Gentiles are not allowed to rest on the Sabbath. Did you know that? Gentiles are not allowed to rest on the Sabbath. This is actually, only Jews are allowed to rest on the Sabbath. Why? Which is interesting that I disagree with Charlie on this. And I want to be clear, I disagree with Charlie on a lot of things. I don't want to say, that just because he had a very strong position in Israel, which we're very grateful for. I don't want to make it sound like we agree with everything. It's okay. This is what Charlie was all about. He was about the marketplace of ideas, and that's okay. It's okay to disagree with someone. You don't have to agree. But Charlie was, of course, an evangelical Christian, I believe. But as Jews, we know that only the Jews have been given the permission to rest on the Sabbath day, on the seventh day, because God didn't put you in this world to be useless. God didn't put you in this world in order to shelter yourself in a cocoon, as we learned recently at Tzaddik in Peltz, which is a righteous man who's wrapped in a fur coat. You were put into this world in order to have an impact, to make an influence, to be a light, to influence your friends, your neighbors, your families, your children, your grandchildren. And I hope that you'll be blessing your grandchildren this Friday afternoon before Shabbos. Give them a call and say, the Zayda wants to bench you, wants to bless you. What a beautiful Lador Vador moment. Keep it up a tradition. Do it on Zoom. Do it on phone, whatever, FaceTime. This is what we're supposed to do. Only a Jew has been given the instruction by God Almighty to rest on the Sabbath on the seventh day. Sabbath, by the way, is on the seventh day, which is Saturday, not Sunday. And why did they pick Sunday? Why did they pick Sunday? So why did they pick Sunday? I heard a very, very interesting commentary. Marty, I wanted to give you a very interesting commentary as to why they picked Sunday, I'm sorry. Of the 12 apostles, the early Christians, I read somewhere that there's a medrash pliya, which is a wondrous medrash, a commentary on the oral Torah, that says that Paul, who's the what do they call him? The disciple. He was one of the 12 apostles, I think, right? Yeah. So Paul was actually a secret Jew. All of them were Jews. Let's be clear. They were all Reformed Jews. All the Christians were Reformed Jews.
Well, they were all Jews. I don't know, Reformed Jews.
When I say reform, what does it mean reform? Let's go to the word reform. They were reforming Judaism. Today, when you go to like an evangelical place, when they have the conquest of bringing a Jew in, right, into their fold, then the greatest declaration is that when the Jew would say that I haven't abandoned my faith, I have come to the fulfillment of it. That's what they're trying to say in the Christian theology. They want to say that the New Testament is the culmination of the fulfillment of the Old Testament, which obviously we Jews disagree with profusely, right? But the
New Testament was written by man,
and the Old Testament was written by God, right?
It's a little different.
I don't know when it became old. Listen, there's only one Testament as far as we're concerned, right? But here's the thing. Here's the thing, Marty, that Jesus himself was a Jew. And all of his influencees were Jews, right? And by the way, in all these movements and revolutions and isms, communism, socialism, who were the leaders of all these movements? Of all Jews, right? And even in the New Age movements, the LGBTQs and the transgender movement, it's all Jews leading these revolutions because Jews are impatient, they're antsy, they're trying to reinvent themselves. It's a misdirection of their soul because their soul is yearning for more. Their soul is not of this world. A Jewish soul, as Tanya teaches us in chapter 2, is not a part of this world. The Jewish soul is a piece of God, which is in a foreign land. And it knows that it doesn't belong here, so it's trying to reinvent itself. Instead of channeling that reinvention through Torah and mitzvahs, through Jewish spirituality, it channels it into New Age movements, right? Now, back to Christianity. So the early Christians, they were Jews, and they were trying to reform Judaism. They were trying to perfect Judaism. They were trying to evolve Judaism, right? It's like me evolving Shakespeare, right? If I evolve Shakespeare and I improve it, I put Macbeth into ChatGPT and I try to make it nice. It's not Shakespeare anymore. It's David. It's not Shakespeare, right? So if you're going to take Judaism and change it, then it's not Judaism anymore, right? Imagine if I improved your email address, Marty, right? I made it prettier. Very nice. It might be prettier, but it's not you. Exactly. So back to the early Christians. What happened was, I read this somewhere, that Paul was actually a secret Jew, a loyalist to Judaism. And what he was trying to do is that he went undercover behind the scenes, behind enemy territory, in order, because he realized that Judaism was Christianity was too similar to Judaism. So what he did was he needed to, the rabbis instructed him to move it away, to make it very different. So they took the mikveh, and he inspired them to take the mikveh and turn it into holy water, to take the Shabbos and turn it into Sunday, right? To move it up. So it shouldn't be the same, that it should be clear that this is something else. Because if it was too similar to Judaism, it would be too confusing. That's right. That's right. You see that? So, and in fact, Paul couldn't ever betray his covenant, because if he did, then he would have, they would have realized the plot. So what he did is that he wrote a beautiful prayer, which we read every Shabbat morning. It's one of the most beautiful prayers ever. We read it on Shabbat morning. What? Paul. Yeah, Paul. Uncle Paul. Right, so here's it goes. It's on page 199. 199 in the Shabbos morning prayer book. Nishmas kol chayet v'orechas shimcha. Here's what he wrote. The soul of every living being shall bless your name, Lord our God, and the spirit of all flesh shall continuously glorify and exalt your remembrance, our King. From the highest world to the lowest, your Almighty God, and aside from you, we have no king. Why is he saying these words? Aside from you, we have no king. You know why? Because I know in my daily life, it makes it look like I do. This was his confession. We have no Redeemer and Savior who delivers, rescues, sustains, answers, and is merciful in every time of distress and tribulation. We have no king other than you. This was his confession. You are the God of the first and of the last generations, even this generation. God of all created things, last of all events, who is extolled with manifold praises, who directs his world with kindness and his creatures with compassion. Indeed, the Lord neither slumbers nor sleeps. And this is what he went on and on and on in this magnificent prayer that we read to pay testament, to pay tribute to this special Paul, right? The special person who was important to him to differentiate between Judaism and the corruption of Judaism. But back to rabbis gone rogue. Okay, so there's an accusation against some rabbis that they're too public. You shouldn't be on Fox News, and maybe Rabbi Vigler shouldn't be on YouTube, and maybe the place of a rabbi is to be in a small group of people behind sheltered, closed walls, and it's not for a rabbi to be out there in the public space. What do you say, folks?
What does the Rabbi say?
What did the Rebbe say? Very good question. What did the Rebbe say? I'll tell you what the Rebbe said. When my wife's father and mother, well, actually, it's my wife's grandparents from Italy, the Chabad rabbis of Italy, they wanted my parents-in-law, after they got married, to move to Greece to open a Chabad house. Yeah. The Rebbe said to them, actually, I want you to stay here, so that you can develop GEM, Jewish Educational Media, which is the Rebbe's not social, but like the Rebbe's media arm, which is taking the Rebbe's message. Thank God for that movement, because I never met the Rebbe in my lifetime. And I was able to learn so much from the Rebbe through the videos of my father and mother-in-law that were able to establish this amazing institution that the world is able to capture the Rebbe's message. The Rebbe wanted the message to go out. In fact, I say to those rabbis, you're living in a shell. You're stuck in a rut because the role of the Chabad movement is to disseminate the wellsprings outward. This is the goal of the Chabad movement. The Baal Shem Tov had an elevation of the soul on Rosh Hashanah of the year 1737, 3 years after he revealed himself as the movement of Hasidus, after 10 years of studying with his mentor, his teacher, Achia Shiloni, the teacher of Elijah the prophet who came out of Egypt. The Baal Shem Tov had a dream in which he met the Messiah himself, and he asked him, when is the Master coming? To which the Messiah answered him, when your wellsprings disseminate outward. When your teachings of Hasidus, the mystical secrets of Torah, what you've learned from Achia Shiloni, when they will disseminate all over the world outward. This is the mission statement of Judaism, of Chabad, I'm sorry. The mission statement of Hasidism and of Chabad is to spread forth the wellsprings outwards. And maybe other rabbis, non-Chabad rabbis, maybe they need to be sheltered because that's not their mission statement. Maybe they need to teach small groups of people, fine. But for a Chabad rabbi, our goal is to go out there and teach and spread the light. Now, the criticism is correct when it's all about a personality of the platform, of the speaker, of the rabbi. When it's all about the rabbi, when it's about a self-promotion enterprise, that's when it can reek of ego. Absolutely. And there are some out there who are an embarrassment, right? There are some out there who will troll. You know what trolling means? There are some Jewish people that will troll other personalities in order to garner attention for themselves. Right? I'll give you an example. Manis Friedman is a brilliant Torah sage. And how lucky we are to have him in our generation teaching Torah on YouTube. The guy's got like 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's amazing.
He's amazing.
It's amazing. Simon Jacobson also he's got a lot. He's amazing. Simon Jacobson's amazing.
Asked him what the Rabbi would say.
And what did he say?
He said he would use the
By YouTube, right?
use every technology available to get this.
You were with me when I asked him that
was
question.
standing there when he said
Oh,
that.
because of all this criticism. I asked Simon Jacobson. He wrote Toward a Meaningful Life. You should buy the book. So I asked him, what did I say about YouTube? And what did he say?
He said you should use every available technology to spread this.
Now it's interesting. Wow, you're opening my mind now because Simon is the guy who was the human tape recorder of the Rebbe's talks. This guy would listen to 6-8 hours of the Rebbe's talks live on Shabbos without a tape recorder. And right after Shabbos, he would start talking and it's like rattling it out. Imagine 8 hours worth of transcribed notes, which he's just like dictating right after the Farbrengen. It's amazing. The reason we have the Rebbe's talks is because of this guy. Nobody knows the Rebbe like this guy knows the Rebbe, right?
Who wrote it down?
No, people would sit there with tape recorders and typewriters and he would just talk for the next 6 hours and people would just write it down, right? And that's how we have the typewritten notes of the Rebbe's lectures, right? From Shabbos. Now, that's what Simon Jacobson said to me. You know who else? I asked this question to another person. His name is Rabbi Label Oltein. Rabbi Label Oltein is one of the early, he's alive today, thank God. He's one of the, also a brilliant Torah scholar in Hasidus. And he is a master. He was the first one to really bring Hasidus, like kind of how I wrote my book, V'yodaita. He did that to the Alter Rebbe's writings. And others. He's brilliant. Like he did it to Tanya, he did it to Likutei Torah Or. So I asked him, because I was getting criticism from some of my colleagues, how dare you write a book explaining what the Rebbe Rashab said? So I asked him, and I said, is it appropriate for me to write a book explaining the teachings of Hasidus? He says to me, David, the world thinks that Chabad is masters of PR, masters of public relations. But why? Because we do public menorah lightings at the city hall, and because we do, teenage C-teen programs in Times Square. We're the most out there, public relations. Said Rabbi Oltein to me, he says, David, we're the worst at public relations. You know why we're the worst at public relations? Because we have access to the greatest secrets ever revealed to mankind. We have the teachings, not only of Torah, we have the teachings of the secrets of Torah, of Hasidus, of Chabad Hasidus, and you know who knows about it? Nobody knows about it. 100,000 Jews in the Chabad movement maybe know about it, and that's it. I mean, I wouldn't put a number on that, but I don't know how many. I don't know, maybe more. But how many people actually know Chassidus? How many people know Tanya like the back of their hands? Simon Jacobson said to me recently at a Farbrengen, he said, how many Jews in America use Buddhism to solve their problems? And how many Jews in America use Tanya to solve their problems?
How many even know the word Tanya?
He said, go out there and get it out. In fact, there's a beautiful story about it, which ties into the rabbis gone rogue, the rabbis that might be a little off. A story about a chassid who came to one of the rabbis, I forget which Rebbe it was, and he said to him, Rebbe, I've decided no longer to teach Chassidus in public because it makes me feel arrogant. Can you imagine? You know what it's like when somebody comes over to you and says, that was a life-changing sermon? You know what it feels like for a rabbi when somebody says that to him? You just made my life so meaningful. You know how easy it is for that to get to the rabbi's head? Just think about that, right? So he said, it's getting into my head. It's not good. It's not healthy for me. I don't want to do it. Now, what would the Rebbe answer such a question? Imagine a rabbi on YouTube's got 1 million subscribers. You could feel like a little, Charlie Kirk had 9.8 million subscribers or followers on Instagram, my wife tells me, right? I mean, that could get to your head, right? So what? What are you supposed to do with that? What do you think the Rebbe would say to him?
Good. You're doing a good job.
You think so? Right. The Rebbe, let me just answer the question. So what did the Rebbe say to him? I don't want to teach Chassidus. In Yiddish, what does that mean? Atzibele, you know what atzibele means? An onion from you should become. You should become an onion. But Chassidus you have to still teach. What's an onion? My interpretation, I'd be interested to hear your interpretation. My interpretation of an onion is that his head is in the earth.
Oh, okay.
His head is in the earth. You know what I mean? His head is in the ground. Dude, what you see what's going on? He stucks himself like an ostrich. He doesn't see. He puts himself in a little echo chamber. He puts himself in the ground. You know what? You should become an onion. From you should become an onion. But Chassidus needs to be taught. Just because you're a fool, that you're allowing this to get to your head, you don't realize that you're just the medium. It's like making a celebrity out of Anderson Cooper or Shepard Smith. Or is that his name, Shepard Smith? Yeah, Shepard. Or out of Candace Owens. I mean, I shouldn't even say her name over here. But it's like making a personality out of the newsreader, for heaven's sake. I mean, for heaven's sake, they know how to read somebody else's words, mazel tov, right? But when you're making a getchke, right? Like you're making a god out of the platform, this is idolatry, right? So the Rebbe said to him, even if you become an onion, you know what happens to an onion? Maybe this is more your interpretation. An onion stinks. An onion makes you cry. You know what? It's not perfect, but you know what? Ultimately, it causes other foods to taste good. Maybe that's the interpretation. The onion causes other food. On its own, an onion is miserable to eat. Right? But in a salad, you chop it up. Israeli salad, it tastes good.
Right. It's until you open it's concealed. It hides over.
So how does that connect to the answers? What was the Rebbe telling him? Just one second, what was the Rebbe telling him?
Because you have to open things up and spread it all over.
You have to open things up and spread it. So you're saying, you should spread. And by the way, I think the impact of the onion is far greater than its real estate. The taste of an onion is like a grain of salt. It's able to have much more impact than its actual dimension. So its influence is far greater than its substance. How's that? Its influence is not vis-a-vis, not proportionate to it's disproportionate to its substance. So in other words, if you're a shmendrik, fine, but why should they suffer? And I think that's the message that we have to apply when it comes to our mission, because our mission is, why did the Rebbe send us to Palm Beach Gardens and to Vladivostok and to Poland and to New Zealand? Why did the Rebbe send us to all these places? Just disseminate the wellsprings outward. And if we can take advantage, like Simon Jacobson said to me, if we can take advantage of YouTube and of Instagram and of social media and of Fox News and CNN and other places, go for it by all means. Will there be some people that put their foot in their mouth? It happens all the time. Try not to be an onion. But you know what? Even if you're an onion, you stink. The Rebbe would say to you, to all those rabbis out there that are watching this video, I want to say to you, you got to get the message out. Otherwise, friends, you're irrelevant. I'm sorry, but you're irrelevant. If you're a Chabad rabbi that is stuck in a silo, that's stuck in an ivory tower, you're a tzaddik in pelts, you're a tzaddik who's illuminating only his own environment, when our mission is to go out there. And don't forget what the Rebbe said to the founders, to the Aguch, which is the board of directors of Chabad in 1989, right after Simchas Torah. In the month of Cheshvan, the Rebbe spoke to them and he said that Gedoyim Nasat Yoshim. The Rebbe spoke about the Shluchim, the emissaries. and he said that the kids have become goats. Kids have grown into goats. It used to be that they were kids. They needed hand holding all the time. But now they've become goats already. Now they know. They've learned. They got the perspective. They got the training. They got the confidence. Now it's time to cut them loose and let them go, to let them do their own thing. The Rebbe has entrusted us to bring Mashiach. Mashiach is not going to come by sitting on our laurels and keeping the secrets of Chassidus to ourselves. We've got to go out there and spread the teachings of Chassidus, even if you're going to make a mistake. Chuck, I'm sorry. I'm on a roll here. I'm going to get you in a second. Is that right? I hope I'm not offending you. Yeah, you go ahead. Tell me something. What do you want to say, Chuck? No, I'm just I'm gushing. Go ahead.
When I think about road, to me, it's not road going out, leaving the shul, go out into the community and talk about the mission, spread the word of Torah, etc. When I think about road, it's perhaps rabbis who are out talking about political issues and global geopolitical.
Which is out of their
No, it's not
role?
the mission. It's not.
Okay, so that's an interesting point. Very interesting point. So you're saying
you go there sometimes.
So you're saying you want to talk about spirituality? By all means, Rabbi, go ahead. But what right do you have? But you're saying, what right do I have?
Right.
To speak about politics? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying you personally.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not. I'm saying we started the subject about rogue rabbis, right?
Yeah,
And
fair
you were
enough.
saying there's a debate about whether rabbis should be out there. Yeah, obviously rabbis should be out there spreading the Torah, spreading the mission of Chabad and Hasidism. But when I think what people mean when they go rogue is they go beyond their religious domain, and now they're commenting.
Okay, so I want just
geopolitical issues.
I want to just defend myself here a second. I want to defend myself. I want to say this.
And I did say that on occasion you go.
Yes, I do, and I want to just comment on that for a second. For starters, I want to say two things on that note. Number one, I want to say that when it comes to Israel, I don't believe that that's outside of the role of a rabbi. I choose not to talk about American politics ever, and I hope I'm never caught talking about American politics, because that is simply divisive and non-productive, right? One of my doctrines is that when a rabbi speaks politics from the podium, the people that agree with him will like him a little bit more, and the people that disagree with him will not like him a lot more, and there is certainly no value to that whatsoever. And I'm pleased to know that none of my congregants know my personal political views, because it's none of their business. Doesn't even matter. You don't know my political views. You think you know? You know in one topic, you know where I hold on Israel, but you don't know where I hold on other topics. It's none of your business. So you know where I stand on. So number one, and that's the first thing I want to say. You think you know where I stand. You don't, because I don't talk politics on the podium. Seriously, I don't. Where do I stand on social issues? Where do I stand on Social Security and on healthcare and on immigration? You don't know where I stand on immigration. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Point is that Israel.
You're an immigrant.
Exactly, I'm an immigrant. Take that. But I want to finish this point. Hold on. So number one, Israel, I don't think is outside of the purview of a rabbi. And when you say that I talk politics, I'm only talking about Israel. I don't think I'm talking about anything else. However, there is some question about current affairs, and maybe this is where the rabbi's criticism is correct. Maybe this is what you're talking about, what they're talking about. When a rabbi will talk about something which is something else, like something breaking in the news, like let's say, I don't know, well, Charlie Cook is an Israel issue also, because he was a fearless voice in support of Israel. Now, you taught me today something which I did not know about something else he said about the Jews, which wasn't so favorable, right? And I say thank you for teaching me something I didn't know, right? I say that on air, right? But regarding this one point, did he have the courage to stand up and defend Israel in her darkest hour? When the whole world is turning on Israel, was he a lone voice that stood up and defended Israel fearlessly at the cost of his own life? There's a lot to be said about that. Okay, but I'm saying he put himself out there in the public sphere. He was clearly, he had bodyguards. This guy was probably getting death threats. It probably had death threats. And yeah, that's right. Whenever you see a picture of his family, his children's faces are facing backward, because he knew that he never wanted to expose his children to whatever was going on. Whatever. I don't think you've ever seen his kids' faces, because it was a policy that he had. In any event, I just want to say this, that when a rabbi talks about something which is current affairs, that's not Israel. I fall in the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov taught, one of the founding principles of Chassidus, is that every single thing that happens in this world is something from which we need to derive a lesson in the service of God. Every single thing that happens in this world is something from which we need to derive a lesson in the service of God. There's no such thing that happens in this world that is outside of the purview of God, that is outside of a lesson that we can learn. And that to me is a source of inspiration. Mike.
So I hear what you're saying about rogue, but I looked up the definition, right? Textbook definition is unprincipled, deceitful, and unreliable. That's the first.
Okay, it's a very strong word. Okay, fine.
Strong,
That's
unreliable.
the
You can go rogue,
textbook
going-
definition.
Okay, so let me just finish. I'm trying to finish, guys.
What's
Right.
the other?
So that one who is playfully mischievous, a wandering beggar, a vicious solitary animal, an organism, then again an adjective, it's vicious and solitary, like an elephant, large, destructive, or anomalous or unpredictable, or operating outside normal or desirable controls. Those are the definitions.
All right, guys, we're just playing on the word. We get the idea. It might not be the right word. Let me just finish. I was trying to finish with two very important points. There is, and to you, and I take your criticism. No, I think it's valuable.
An observation.
Chuck, I think it's a very valuable observation. I want to think actually about that, but I want to comment this. In addition to the story about the onion, I want to share another story here about another famous analogy, which I believe comes from the Baal Shem Tov. In the days of the Baal Shem Tov, the teachings of Hasidus were started to be disseminated after the 1737 vision of the Baal Shem Tov. They started disseminating teachings of Hasidus. And in one point, there was a printed page of Hasidus that was flying in the gutter. It was disgraceful. Can you imagine? Teachings of secrets of Jewish mysticism flying in a gutter in a garbage heap. So a certain Hasid was deeply distressed by this. And he was trying to use this as an example as they have to stop. They have to stop
Shouldn't be
disseminating, right? And I believe it was the Alter Rebbe who defended the movement by saying the following. Because, today's criticism of the rabbis is nothing new. It happened then too, right? And the Alter Rebbe said, he brought an analogy of the prince, the crown prince, who was very ill and he was dying. And that a certain physician came in and he said that there's only one cure for the crown prince, and that is to ground up the crown jewel, the most precious jewel of the whole kingdom, ground it up and to turn it into a liquid, and then pour some into the mouth of the prince. And if it gets into his mouth, and if he manages to swallow a little bit, then he might survive. Is it worth it? It's the life of the crown prince, for heaven's sake. You don't think it's worth the money? It's a metaphor, my friend. It's a metaphor. Go with the flow here. Go with the flow. It's a metaphor, right? Imagine, right? So would it be worth it to ground up the crown jewel, or would rather keep the crown jewel and let the prince die? Alter Rebbe said, of course, you'll do anything to save the life of the prince. Of course. Same thing he said with Hasidus. We got to take Hasidus, which is our crown jewel, and you got to grind it up and spread it out and even put it into places which are inappropriate. You put it into circles of people on the golf course that mock and scoff and disdain, right? But if there's a chance that a little tiny piece of that wisdom might touch the heart of one of the scoffers and mockers and listeners, or maybe his nephew or brother-in-law, son or grandchild, if there's a chance that it will inspire the king, the prince, bam, it's worth it. And that perhaps is an answer to your point, Chuck. Perhaps that may be within, why would the rabbis be talking about current affairs? Because they're trying to be relevant. They're trying to reach the people that wouldn't otherwise not normally listen to them. But if I could give a commentary on, I don't know, let's say there's a hurricane in Taiwan. I think they call them typhoons, right? Let's say there's a typhoon in Taiwan. What's that going to do with the Jews and the price of cheese in China? Well, China, yeah. But if actually very touchy topic onto China. If it's Taiwan, yeah, okay. But if there's a typhoon in Taiwan, if I could talk about it in a way that might touch the heart of a Jew in Taiwan, then it's like grinding up that crown jewel in order to potentially reach that Jew. If I'm not mistaken, there's somebody in Denmark. Not Denmark. In Finland. There's somebody in Finland who is actually putting subtitles on my videos into Finnish. I gotta check with this guy. He sent me an email. I think it's a good thing. I'm deeply touched to be able to reach a Jew in Finland. But I want to finish with one final story, and that final story is to my fellow rabbis that are justifiably concerned about this idea of spreading, of being too public, for a rabbi to go out and be too public out there. There's a beautiful story, not a story, there's a tragic encounter we read about in Yom Kippur It's the 10 martyrs who were executed by the Romans for this crime of teaching Torah in public 2,000 years ago. One of them was Rabbi Akiva. Another one of them was Rabbi Chutzpis, the translator. Rabbi Chutzpis HaMeturgeman. Now, when you look at his name, it's quite eyebrow-raising when you look at his name, which is Chutzpis. Chutzpis? His name was Chutzpah. Chutzpah? Can you imagine? His mother named him Chutzpah. Can you imagine at the bris? Imagine what happens at the bris. The rabbi's like, Vikar Reish may be Israel, may his name be called in Israel. And he turns to the father, Chutzpah is a chutzpah. Chutzpah. I mean, like, who names their child Chutzpah? What kind of, I mean, my parents think I'm a disgrace. Can you imagine? He tells that to his therapist. Get a name like that, you could spend the rest of your life in therapy, right? My parents think I'm a joke. My parents don't take me seriously. My parents think I'm a mockery. I'm a disgrace. No parent in their right mind, I say, would name their child Chutzpah. No, he had a real name. He had a name like Yaakov, or Moshe, or Pinchas, or Todris, or something else. You know who called him Chutzpah? The people who called him Chutzpah was not his parents, it was his colleagues. They called him Chutzpah because he was an interpreter. Because of his vocation, because he had the audacity to take the teachings of Torah and to spread them amongst further pastures, amongst other groups that were not sequestered inside of the cocoon, inside of the yeshiva. He had the courage to go out there and to translate the words of Torah. He went out there to make a difference, to make an impact. They said, you're a chutzpahnik because you're an interpreter. And I want to just conclude with one final passage, which is the thundering accolades of Mordechai at the end of the Purim story. Mordechai is a great sage. He's the leader of the Sanhedrin in the Purim story. He saves the Jews at the time of their distress. When Haman, may his name be blotted out and erased, when Haman is deposed, chutzpah means an audacity tender. Chutzpah means a disgrace. It means like when something's an audacity. Can you imagine? They named him Audacity. Sorry if I didn't explain that. Mordechai at the end of the Purim story is replacing Haman. He becomes now the chief of staff of the known world. So it says that the last words of the Megillah, it's so easy to miss them because you're ready for for breaking the fast. He says, he was great for the Jews and beloved by most of his colleagues. So it says at the end of the Megillah, the last words, it says he just saved the Jews from annihilation. He was great amongst the Jews, and he was beloved by most of his colleagues. These are the final words of the Megillah. It's like, imagine you introduce a rabbi. You say, this is a great rabbi. Most of his colleagues like him. Like, what kind of approbation is that? Most people, 80-20, 70-30, think he's a good guy, but we're going to go with majority rule, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. The reason is because if you're going to take public office, if you're going to get into the public eye, you will take criticism. We say in Afrikaans, where I'm from, South Africa, die hoogste bomen vangen die meeste wind. Sounds a little Yiddish-like.
Is that in African?
The highest, Afrikaans, yeah. The highest trees, die hoogste bomen, vangen die meeste wind. They catch the most wind. The taller the tree, the more wind you're going to catch. If you're going to be a little shrub, nobody's going to bother you. But if you're going to be taller than everybody else, you're going to have tremendous windshield. So brace for impact. Friends, our mission statement is to go out there and make a difference. Yes, there might be a mistake along the way. There might be some ego along the way. Become an onion. No, you might stink. But you got to continue to make a difference, to inspire the people. You might save the crown prince from his coma. We can go out there, be a chutzpahnik, try to be true to Torah. This is the mission statement of a rabbi, is to be transparent. And a true Chabad rabbi is one who's transparent in his ego, who realizes that his achievements and his accomplishments and his influence is nothing more than the one who sent him, than the Rebbe whom he represents. And he should be like glass instead of opaque, allowing the Rebbe to shine through him. And when we move out of our own way, when we step out of our own ego, allowing the Rebbe to shine through us, then the achievements that we can reach, the heights that we can scale, are not those of our own capacity, but those of the one who sent us. May we have success in being able to inspire, to influence, and to change the world. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you.